Hey guys, it's Nena, and today I wanted to talk to you about two books that I've read recently by Nigerian authors. So Didi from Read Frenchy D organized a wonderful project for February, Black History Month. She asked a bunch of booktubers to do videos that fall into the theme of Black History Month, and we could basically do anything we wanted, within that theme. So I decided I wanted to read a couple books by Nigerian authors that I hadn't heard of. My family is Nigerian. My parents were born in London and the US, but they grew up mostly in Nigeria, so I've grown up in a Nigerian household and in that culture. So I thought it would be really interesting to read more Nigerian literature. I wanted to pick authors that I hadn't heard of and possibly you haven't heard of, so right away crossing off Adichie, even though I really want to read more for work, and also Chinua Achebe, who's very famous. So I was seeking out people that you may not be familiar with. So thank you to Didi for organizing this and asking me to participate, and let's jump right into my thoughts on these two books. The first book I read was The Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives, and I borrowed that one from the library, so I'll pop up the cover. This one I think I actually heard about on Didi's channel because she was talking about it in a book haul or something, and I was like, Nigerian author, that'll work. And it sounded interesting, so I borrowed it from my library. It's about Baba Segi's wives. So Baba Segi is I think he is a construction man in Nigeria, and he's got 4 wives. Yes, he is married to 4 different women. It kind of follows their lives for a bit, and you see where they came from and how they got to where they are now. So in the beginning, I was kind of like, and everything. Okay, I knew he had multiple wives, but just his attitude towards women was really pissing me off. He was like, oh, blah, 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 like all of my wives, they're so lucky to have me, and they need to serve me and do my bidding, and that's what they're here for, and it was driving me crazy. So I was like not having it. As you go along, you get to hear from each person's perspective, so Baba Segi and then each of the 4 wives. As you get to know the characters a little bit better, you understand a bit more about them and why they've chosen this situation. So the first wife is obviously his oldest wife. She is kind of money obsessed. Since she's the oldest wife, she has the most power among the wives. She seems like she's there just to serve Baba Segi. She's very demure and defers to him, but secretly she's manipulating everything to get what she wants. The second wife is very quiet and timid. The third wife is very vain and obsessed with her appearance. And the fourth wife is the youngest wife, and that is Bolanle, and she has gone to university. She's had some schooling, so they call her like the educated one or educated girl. The other 3 wives mistrust her, one because she's young and they're like, why does Baba Segi need a 4th wife? Why does he? I don't know. And also because she's educated, and so they feel like she must think that she's better than them. But really, she hasn't had an easy life growing up either, and Baba Segi, when he offers to marry her, that is kind of an escape for her, so she takes him up on it. I thought this was really interesting, especially the way that my opinion changed as I was reading the book. I mean, in the beginning, I was just couldn't stand Baba Segi and everything that he was saying about women, and I didn't understand why you would want to be married to somebody who's also married to somebody else. But as you get to know the characters, I became more sympathetic. The way they were described, it made sense to me why they chose that path and how they ended up there. In the title it says The Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives, and there are all sorts of secrets that are kept from various characters. All that does is brings misery and tragedy, and it's really sad. But it's interesting to see how these secrets are revealed and the effects that they have on each person. Obviously, a big theme in this book is family and various types of families and what exactly constitutes a family. 1 man, 4 wives, multiple children would not be my typical thought when it comes to family, but circumstances have brought them together, and that's how they view each other. So it just made me consider a different perspective, which is really good. I thought this was good. I probably wouldn't reread this book, but I would read another book by this author. I just enjoy seeing a different way of life, and just it being set in Nigeria, totally different from all the books I've been reading, so it was interesting to have that completely different setting. So if the premise sounds at all interesting to you, I would say pick this one up. I wouldn't say that it blew me away, but it was definitely interesting to just read about a different part of the world and see different lives. So the second book I read was Oil on Water by Helon Habila. We were at the Strand, and I needed to pick up my second book. I was looking for a different book by this author called Waiting for an Angel, and I couldn't find that one, but I did see this one, so I grabbed it. And also, how gorgeous is this watercolor painterly cover? So I couldn't find the book I was looking for, but I lucked out and grabbed another book that I thought was good. In this book, the wife of a high-level oil executive is kidnapped, and this is kind of a regular occurrence in Nigeria. They kidnap these people and then they hold them for ransom because they know people will and do pay. And if you pay, basically the person is returned to you unharmed. The main character, Rufus, is a journalist, and the husband of the woman who's kidnapped asks the press to go meet with the kidnappers and make sure that she's okay before, they agree to pay out the ransom. So Rufus is on the hunt for this woman, and also he's partnered up with another journalist named Zach, who was a very famous reporter in Lagos for a while. What should be a routine exchange with the kidnappers doesn't quite go as planned, but Rufus and Zach are on the hunt to find this woman, and the story unfolds from there. I definitely enjoyed this one. Again, just getting to read about a new environment is so interesting to me. The whole situation with the kidnappers, that being something typical that happens, and there's like a procedure you follow, and like that's the way of life. That's crazy to me. I liked the main character of Rufus. He's young and idealistic, and he wants to follow the story wherever it may take him and write the truth. And there's a lot of interesting talk about the role of journalists. So they see some pretty terrible things along the way, but Rufus feels that he can't ignore these things, that it's his duty to observe and report them. So something's happening, and then Rufus says, "But I couldn't turn my face away for long. I was a journalist. My job was to observe and to write about it later, to be a witness for posterity. I witnessed the stoic and anticipatory posture of the kneeling men." In this scenario, there are the kidnappers who are holding the woman for ransom. There are the journalists who are kind of middlemen, and then there are also the soldiers, the militia, who are also trying to hunt down the kidnappers and bring them to justice. The journalists are kind of in between, and they try to be neutral and not really get involved in either side. Basically, they have to keep both sides happy. But between the militia and the kidnappers, it's kind of like, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? Both groups, everywhere they go, are kind of causing death and destruction. And underneath it all is the underlying current of the oil industry and how it's affecting these villages in the area. So the oil is ruining the environment and also these people's livelihoods. These villages are dying out basically because they can't survive in the area anymore. Zach is also an interesting character because he was a really famous journalist in his heyday, and he brought around a different idea of journalism, but by the time Rufus starts working with him, he's kind of washed up. He's had to quit his job, and he has an alcohol problem. The relationship between the two characters is interesting because here's this man that Rufus idolized and adored and wanted to be like, and he's seen him tumble from that pedestal. But in the end, they both have a common goal. They both want to write a great story, and for Zach, it may be his last great story, and Rufus is just getting started. I thought this was fairly easy to read. It's all told in first person from Rufus's perspective, and there's a lot of dialogue between the characters. Sometimes there's like pidgin English, which I didn't quite understand completely, but through context you can pretty much get what's going on. It also jumps around in time a little bit, which can be a bit confusing, but I was able to figure it out. I would say this is not so much about the woman who's kidnapped, although she's a catalyst for what's caused them to go on this journey. It's more about the people that they encounter along the way, and Rufus and Zach wanting to share the truth and what's actually happening to the people that are affected by this oil business. Again, I thought this one was very good, and I would definitely read another book by this author. So those are my thoughts on those two books. If you've read either of those, I'd love to hear what you thought in the comments below. Also, let me know if you've heard of either author or read any of their other books, or if you know of any other Nigerian authors that you think I would like. Thank you again to Didi for asking me to participate in this project. Definitely check out Read Soul Lit and the Black History Month playlist. I will leave links to everything down below. I'd love for you to give this a thumbs up and or subscribe if you aren't already. If you want to talk to me elsewhere, I'm on Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram. I will leave all of my information down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!